Well, ladies and gentlemen, this one did not fall apart quietly. In fact, it collapsed live on national television in real time, and nobody in that CNN studio could stop this sucker, okay? Ilhan Omar, she went on live air, and she made a very serious claim. She told the entire country that federal immigration agents pulled her son over and demanded proof of citizenship. Not a rumor, not a leak, a direct allegation against ICE, delivered on CNN, meant to spark outrage, fear, and headlines. But here's the problem. Within hours, the Department of Homeland Security and ICE responded publicly, and they didn't hedge. They didn't waffle, they didn't spin. They said something that detonated the entire story. There is zero record of it ever happening. No stop, no agents, no documentation, and then came the moment that changed everything. CNN, of all places, they put that denial directly in front of Ilhan Omar while she was still on air. No friendly cutaway, no drop to regroup, no cut to commercial, just one question, one denial, and a narrative that suddenly had nowhere to go. What followed wasn't clarification. It wasn't evidence. It was deflection. It was finger pointing and a silence where a simple denial should have been. Under a Trump administration that is no longer ignoring immigration enforcement or false claims about it, this wasn't an awkward interview. This was a credibility test. In fact, today, we're going to go ahead and walk through exactly how the story was built, how it unraveled, and why two words, zero record, blew up the entire narrative on live television. Stick with me, guys, because this gets worse the deeper you go. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. Hit the like button to support. I really appreciate you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and get started where this whole thing began, okay? This is the match that hits the gasoline. Ilhan Omar goes on CNN and says federal immigration agents pulled over her son on Saturday and demanded proof of citizenship. Now, that's not a vague, I heard something kind of statement. That is a direct allegation against ICE. And you already know why this is so powerful. This is her kid. This is her son. It's personal, it's emotional, and it's designed to hit the public like a punch. Fear, outrage, racial profiling accusations, the whole package all in one thing. It's kind of like an extra value meal. You get everything all in one sitting. And the reason why this spreads instantly is simple. Americans don't hear ICE pulled over a Congresswoman's son as some small misunderstanding. No, people hear it as the federal government targeting citizens in the street. In Minneapolis, Somalians, in broad daylight, under a Trump administration where immigration enforcement is a real machine, not a talking point. And so now it's not just politics, it's a story that touches identity, authority, and family. And once you toss that match, you don't control the fire anymore. And so now we need to talk about why this went nuclear so fast. Because ICE plus prove your citizenship is one of the most emotionally loaded combinations in America right now. People don't process that like a policy debate. They process it like a threat. And Minneapolis is the kind of place where this really becomes instantly symbolic because, look, sanctuary city politics have taken over, heavy activism, national media attention, and constant tension over enforcement versus local leadership. Now, here's the key context here in 2025, December 2025, okay? President Donald J. Trump, he's in the office right now, and immigration enforcement is not theoretical. DHS and ICE, they're not acting like background characters anymore. They respond, they push back, they issue statements, they protect the agency brand. I mean, this is what they're doing now. So when a sitting member of Congress makes a claim like this, it's not just a viral clip. It becomes a test of whether the story is real, a test of whether the media will challenge it, and a test of whether federal agencies will let a narrative harden into fact without a fight. This is why this didn't stay local. It couldn't. Now, this is where the entire tone of the interview changes because Wolf Blitzer doesn't just nod along and move on. No, actually, Wolf Blitzer, he does something rare for CNN. He introduces the official denial while Ilhan Omar is still sitting there live. He tells her on air that the Department of Homeland Security says that ICE has absolutely zero record of her son being pulled over, ever. Not later, not in some follow-up article, right there in real time. And that really matters because once the denial is read out loud, this stops being a one-way narrative. It becomes a confrontation. The story is no longer ICE did something wrong. The story becomes, did this actually happen? I mean, you feel the shift immediately. This is no longer about outrage. It's about verification. It's about receipts. It's about whether a claim survives contact with facts. Now, CNN accidentally sets the trap by doing the one thing that narratives hate the most, introducing an official contradiction before the talking point has time to harden. Now, what we're talking about right now is records. It's proof. It's what happens when reality doesn't match what we were told. And this matters outside of politics too. So if you were recently shared this with me, he said he fell and needed an ambulance. The ambulance ride was covered. No issue there. But the hospital they took him to, that was where the problem was. It wasn't an in-network hospital for his Medicare plan. Now, he didn't choose the hospital. They didn't have time to ask questions. And unfortunately, a few weeks later, he got hit with a $900 bill that he never expected. That's the difference between coverage that looks good on paper and coverage that actually protects you when something goes wrong. This is why I partner with Chapter, folks. They make sure that your Medicare coverage works in real emergencies, not just in brochures. Now, most people watching, they're already dialing the phone number at the bottom of your screen, 909-563-8279, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. I left a link for you in the bottom of this video. Click the link, give our friends at Chapter a call, tell them Ron says hello. All right, so let's get back to this very, very serious allegation from Ilhan Omar. I want to be very clear about what DHS and ICE said, because they didn't hedge here. They didn't say, well, we're reviewing it. They didn't say we're looking into it. They said ICE has zero record of any officer stopping Ilhan Omar's son. No traffic stop, no questioning, no interaction, period. Now, that's an extraordinary thing for a federal agency to say publicly about a sitting member of Congress. Agencies do not do that lightly. Every word is vetted, every sentence is deliberate, and zero record. This is not accidental. This is not accidental language. It is final language. This is essentially a confirmation. It is the government saying, we checked. There's nothing to see here, folks. Under a Trump administration that is actively defending enforcement agencies, this kind of statement is a line in the sand. It tells the public, look, the media and even the Congress, if you're going to accuse federal officers of misconduct, you better be right. You better do your homework. And if you're lying about us, we're gonna call you out. Because if the records say otherwise, the narrative doesn't just weaken, it completely collapses. And now, watch what happens when Omar is confronted with that denial. This is the moment everything tightens. Because she does not say that didn't happen. She does not say ICE is wrong. Instead, she pivots. Now, you would think if your son really did get pulled over and you're standing your ground, you would have argued that right on the spot. You wouldn't pivot. You wouldn't be like, oh crap, they just called me out on my lie. You'd be like, no, my son did get pulled over, and she would go into more details. She questions whether ICE keeps records of every interaction. She then talks about transparency. She brings up past frustrations with information sharing, and that's the telltale sign right there. When somebody makes a direct claim, my son was pulled over, and then refuses to directly restate or even defend it once it gets challenged, the audience feels that immediately. I mean, think about it. If your son got pulled over or your daughter got pulled over, you just gonna let them tell you it didn't happen when you know it really did? Like, that's just not how this works. She's arguing about process instead of the event itself. And the longer she avoids the simple yes or no moment, the louder the silence becomes. Viewers don't need a law degree to understand that that's what's happening right now. They hear the question, they hear the denial, and they notice the gap where certainty should be. Then comes the line that made a lot of people stop and rewind. Wolf Blitzer says, he is a U.S. citizen. Are you? And that phrasing lands strangely because a sitting member of Congress being a U.S. citizen is just automatically assumed, right? It doesn't need clarification. So why say it? That moment right there, it adds another layer of tension. It sounds defensive, almost preemptive, as if CNN is trying to insulate the conversation rather than interrogate it. And viewers pick up on that instinctively. When journalists start over-explaining obvious facts, it signals discomfort. It signals narrative management. Instead of grounding the story, the phrasing raises new questions. Why the emphasis? Why the reassurance? Why now? It doesn't save the moment, it magnifies it, because at that point, the audience isn't just listening to what's being said, they're watching how carefully everyone else is choosing their words. Now, this is the exact point where the story turns upside down, guys, okay? So, what started as an accusation against ICE suddenly becomes a credibility test for Ilhan Omar herself. The audience, they can feel the shift mid-interview. Now, at first, viewers are primed to be angry at the federal agents, but at the end, they're asking a very different question entirely. Did this actually even happen? Now, that's the danger of making a claim this specific, this emotional, and this public. So once DHS puts out a flat denial and CNN reads it on air, the spotlight moves. ICE isn't on defense anymore. Omar is. And so the more Ilhan Omar talks around the issue instead of through it, the more the focus tightens. This is no longer about immigration enforcement. This is about whether a sitting member of Congress overstated or even completely invented an incident to push a narrative. She just make this whole story up. And so once that realization clicks for the audience, the damage isn't theoretical, it's immediate. Now, we need to talk about CNN's position here, okay? Because it is rather brutal here. CNN's position is rather brutal. So what they did here, on the one hand, they gave Ilhan Omar the platform to make this claim. But on the other hand, what else did they do? Well, Once DHS responds, they just can't ignore it. So CNN, they end up doing something rare, platforming the accusation and the contradiction in the same breath. And this is why this moment feels so uncomfortable to watch. I mean, you can sense the network trying to walk a tightrope, asking the question but softening the edges, and changing the claim but cushioning the fallout. That is narrative management in real time, guys. It doesn't quite work. It just doesn't. Because once zero record is spoken on air, no amount of careful phrasing can put the toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak. CNN cannot protect the guest without discrediting itself, and it can't fully press without breaking the alliance. That's the tension that's going on, and it's visible, and the audience notices it instantly. This moment doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens under a second Trump administration where immigration enforcement isn't being slow-walked or buried or quietly ignored. DHS and ICE are operating with clear backing from the White House, and that changes the risk calculus for public claims like this one. When President Trump is in office, federal agencies, they don't stay silent while accusations circulate unchecked. They respond, they document, they correct the record. This is why the zero record statement matters so much. It signals that DHS isn't playing defense anymore. It's protecting institutional credibility. In this environment, claims about ICE aren't just political messaging. They're statements that will be tested against logs, reports, and internal systems. The Trump administration has made it very clear that narrative pressure won't override documentation. So when Omar's story meets that reality, it doesn't get debated for weeks, it gets answered directly. And once that happens, the story drops being emotional and it starts being evidentiary. Now here's the part that many politicians underestimate. The victim narrative only works if it survives verification. And so once official records contradicted, the cost isn't sympathy, it's trust. And voters in 2025, they're already deeply skeptical of institutions, media framing, and political storytelling. They're watching very closely for exaggeration, selective wording, and emotional manipulation. So when a story like this collapses, it doesn't just fade away. It hardens cynicism. People stop asking, was ICE wrong? And they start asking, why say this at all? Now, this is a dangerous shift for any political figure, especially for a Democratic Congresswoman by the name of Ilhan Omar. Because once audiences start to believe that you're willing to stretch facts for impact, every future claim gets discounted. The victim card stops generating outrage and it starts triggering more eye rolls. And that's the real damage here. Not just one interview, but the long-term erosion of credibility in a political environment where records, receipts, and responses are coming faster than ever. 2 words ended the argument: zero record. And the reason that they went viral is because they leave no oxygen for spin. It's not unclear, not under review, not disputed. Zero record is final. It tells the audience that the search has already been done and nothing was found. That phrase carries authority because it comes from systems, not from feelings. Databases, logs, documentation, and in a media environment flooded with emotional storytelling, a cold, bureaucratic phrase like that one, this cuts straight through. I know it sounds boring, but boring is powerful, and the alternative is chaos. Viewers, they latch onto it because it resolves uncertainty instantly. This is why it spread faster than the original claim. Memes, headlines, clips, all built around 2 words. Because once zero record enters the conversation, ambiguity dies. You don't need commentary, you don't need panels. The phrase does the work. It becomes the shorthand for the entire collapse. And so this is where we zoom out, guys. This wasn't an awkward CNN moment. This was a stress test for politicians, for the media, for the institutions. Under President Trump's administration, narratives don't float unchallenged for long. Records answer faster than rhetoric. Agencies respond instead of retreating. And this moment right here signals a shift. Authority is moving away from who tells the best story and back toward who can prove it. Now, that doesn't mean institutions are perfect, but it does mean that claims are no longer protected just because they're emotional or politically convenient. Now, for the public, this moment reinforces something very powerful. Skepticism isn't cynicism, it's survival. And for media outlets, it's a warning. If you platform claims, you own the fallout when records contradict them. Now, this story didn't collapse because of politics. It collapsed because reality showed up live, documented, and unbothered. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this video. We'll see you next time.